So it is Friday, January the 10th, 2025. So even though I may be creating this video on Friday, I don't think I'll be releasing this video until this weekend. So I looked at the usual Thursday press conference of the VP by Jagdeo. Later on, I'll also be looking for the press conference of the PNC as well as the AFC, hopefully after 1. It's just around 12:27 right now. Steaming here, 86 degrees. And so, Jagdeo went over the 2 hours. As usual, he can speak for hours upon hours apparently. But my interest was mostly in the questions and answer segment. The questions and answer segment, of course, did not disappoint. I focus mainly on the Guyanese critic queries to the president, probably slightly referring to T. Mohammed, not calling the Mohammeds by name, but you read between the lines, it's referring to the T. Mohammeds. So he's asking Jagdeo about a situation where the United States authorities said that 50 million US dollars were bent in on unpaid taxes. And how was it that this individual can be, if not every single day, every other day, sharing out stuff to Guyanese, and the government is not doing enough probably to investigate about that 50 million US dollar taxes. And I probably alluded to the individuals being sanctioned, the individuals sharing out money, the individual with the possibility of running in this year's 2025 elections. If I could remember, the Ministry of Education also had stopped the T. Mohammed from donating to schools. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I read that they have to go through a procedure through the ministry before he can make donations to school. So apparently he has to go through protocol, and I think a lot of people are upset about that. I personally don't think the Mohammeds are going to be taking part in any elections. I don't even see Glenland make an effort to create a party to contest the elections. I know Pastor London and Linden, he is from the People's Movement. The guy Bisesa that had the showdown with Freddie Kissoon, he is from a party. Adriana Thomas, that is on, she was, if I'm not mistaken, a former PRO at GWI. I saw her in CAMS TV. I think she also wants to form a party. But I doubt whether the Mohammeds are going to contest for the presidency. Maybe a seat in parliament. The elder Mohammed Shell, he on the last local government elections, he ran at the PPP's ticket. And as far as I know, he won a seat in the NDC in Eccles. But after the sanctions, I don't know if he resigned from that position. The Showbase, I know he was in a partnership with Showbase that is now completed, and he decided to pull out of that Showbase operation because of the sanctions. So, to Jagdeo's credit, Jagdeo is saying that, look, the Mohammeds are Guyanese. They have a right to take part in any elections. They have a right to defend themselves. Picking up what he was saying, the GRA, the boss, Godfrey Station, should or would be investigating that alleged U.S. Sanctions about the 50 million US in terms of taxes. They're going to be investigating it. And the T. Mohammed have every right to come out and defend their case. And I think he was even saying that if at some point in time they do not come out and defend themselves well, maybe the matter is going to be taken up to another notch. But I think the critic was trying to get from the president, the vice president rather, that how could you have sanctions individuals um, trying to take part in general elections? As I said, nobody knows except in that camp what are the intentions. Last week, the AFC boss, Nigeria, he also said it would be good to have the MOHAMED'S and other options, and Nigel was saying that it would be good for the Guyanese people to have other options in terms of choosing who they want to represent them in the general elections. And if the Mohammed is in it, he has no problem. So, also, maybe not in this video, the critic was asking the Jagdeo in a very sly way about social media influences accessing finances. That's financial resources from the government of the day. Because he's saying that a lot of people don't read the newspapers. Why does the government start channeling financial resources to social media influencers like himself? And according to Jagdeo, they're looking into it, the finance ministry, and the possibility that they're going to start channeling financial resources to individuals like the critic who have a massive platform. And I see that as a build-up towards the 2025 general and regional elections.
Dr. Jagdeo, Mikhail Rodriguez for Daybreak News. Is your government willing to some extent to accept responsibility for this kind of backlash that comes from social media? Taken into consideration, sanctions were brought against an individual for sums of money amounting to about 50 million US dollars that were stolen from the coffers. That person now comes about and shares money willy-nilly and creates an embarrassing situation for the government, while the government sits by idly, not following up on what the Americans have, to some extent, shown clearly is gain from the pilferaging of Guyana's gold and illegal acts in this country, and people are allowed to walk about like if this came from heaven and they're passing it on to people. Is the government going to accept responsibility for bringing this embarrassment for itself by not addressing this illegality?
So 2 weeks now you've been asked, both weeks you've asked me about this particular issue. And let me make it clear what I said last week. I saw Nigel Hughes and the others conveniently jumped in. Conveniently, because I think they're hoping that somehow this would bolster their own faltering campaigns and enhance, as I said before, their electoral fortunes. Let me say this again, that people in Guyana, any person in Guyana, is entitled to due process. Any person. So there have been reports from the US government in relation to the MOHAMED'S about evaded taxes. That matter is engaging the Commissioner General, and at the appropriate time, they will have an opportunity to present their side of the argument in line with due process, and the commissioner will be able to look at that matter. Before then, I don't want to comment on their criminality or lack of criminality. They are entitled, the MOHAMED'S are entitled as Guyanese citizens to have their side of the allegation heard, and or to respond to these allegations and present evidence to the contrary. If they fail to do so, then they become liable to pay the taxes and the consequences that arise from those, the other consequences. If one of the Mohammeds want to enter into politics, has been speculated, and there is nobody knows whether this will happen or not. I think they're being encouraged to do so by some individuals who believe, or are hoping, maybe with great, because they can't do it themselves, that somehow this will affect the PPP. We're not worried about that. That if they want to do that, if they choose voluntarily to go or with inducement to get into politics, it's their right to, as Guyanese citizens. And I said that last week. If they want to get into politics, that's their right. So what I said, however, is that everyone now would have to, like we, withstand scrutiny. Every week you get asked about everything under the sun. Personally, I have been vilified. I've been asked all sorts of questions here, and I have to give answers. The media and everyone else, and the political opponents of all the parties, because when you're contesting the elections, you have to be prepared to answer questions. And that's when the questions will be posed. Not necessarily by the People's Progressive Party, but I'm sure if you have a media conference, you will get a chance, every member of the media here will get a chance to ask all the probing questions of the individuals concerned. So right now, I don't worry as General Secretary of the PPP. I know what we will campaign on. And we're campaigning on our plans for the future, the vision for Guyana, delivering on our promises, on addressing all of these issues. We're not in any entertainment business. We're not in that. And we're convinced that the PPP will win a landslide at the elections. We've done our polls, so we know we've tested all of these issues. Not the polls that they had going around the last weekend that anybody could vote. I could put critic and two donkeys and show a donkey ahead of you in one of the polls. Because they're not scientific. I just could vote 10 times or get people to vote. I could put a donkey ahead of you winning the poll. So those are not scientific polls. We have done our polling across the country about what matters to people and the delivery. And we're pleased. We're extremely pleased. And we're pleased with the popularity of Irfan Ali. Very pleased with his popularity. And so right now we're heading, once we continue working hard for the people of this country, we're heading for a landslide when the elections are held.